Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Connor here for Connor's English Corner. I'm not dead. Series isn't over, though it may have seemed like it. Um, we'll just compare my upload schedule to Bushiroad's release schedule and move on from there, I guess. But yeah, we're here, February 21st. Not a Monday, but I needed to get something out because Persona 5 is out. So we're talking about the yellow-red Thief deck. Pretty generic Persona 5 build, what everyone is sort of looking at as the main build for English. So hopping right in, we've got the sort of deck overview here. So your deck plays a costless, sort of like wall-based level 1 game. You have an advantage combo that does give you a +2 in card advantage, but it does need to reverse. So unfortunately, in an Attack on Titan meta, and assuming standby Sword Art is fairly popular this coming season, that might not be the easiest thing in the world. So we have this sort of wall-based game to give us a little cushion there, something to build us card advantage through field, rather than needing to get our reverses. We do just sort of incidentally have a lot of heal effects on our level 3s. They are cards we would play anyway, and they just happen to heal, which ends up being quite good for us. And we have a really good costless mill. We don't have a Winter Akatsuki sort of clone, but we do have an event that does pretty much the same thing for us, and it is bondable on discard bonds. So it's not a great plussing engine, but it is a good mill, good hand fix. It essentially gives us access to 8 sort of Winter Akatsuki effects in our deck. Cons of the deck, the wall strategy is very strange, the card effect, and we'll get there. It is not super reliable. It relies heavily on what your opponent is playing, which is sort of interesting. Like I said, our reverse combo, our advantage combo rather, does need to reverse, so that's an issue. And our finisher is kind of questionable. It has some inconsistencies and some issues against decks like AOT, and also just with the fact that it can randomly miss. But altogether, this deck is fairly strong. It has good matchups sort of all around. Its only really struggle times are against AOT and Sword Art. So I think this is a very solid deck to go into for the spring season. Here's the deck list that I've been running recently for yellow-red. The promo, I'm sort of torn on the promo, the first card you can see there. It is good in some ways and not so good in other ways. It is the first card we'll talk about, so I'll just go ahead and move into it. Protagonist as Joker, Destiny Awaits. So this is a promo you can get as the February shop promo, or you get a foil alternate art version seen here if you get a full case, or if you went to Worlds. 00500 on play, look at the top card of your deck, put it on the top or bottom of your deck. So this is sort of the neat part of it. Our level 3 finisher, when we get there, it does require like top checking. So if we can guarantee what's on the bottom of our deck, and then guarantee that we'll top check that, we can deal an insane amount of damage off of our finisher. Unfortunately, at the same time, there are like times when your finisher just does nothing. But this can help us guarantee that. So it's kind of a reason that I want to play more, but at the same time, the card is, you don't have a lot of room, and the card is not quite as good as our other options overall. So I'm sort of torn on that. Second effect is when you become reversed, you can pay 1 and put this card into clock, look at top 2, choose 1, put it in hand, put the rest in waiting room. Same effect that's on the sitting Maya from Toloveru. So it's just a good clock costed +1 to replace itself. Next we have Protagonist, the Will of Rebellion. This is our Brainstorm. It's pay 1, rest 2, search Brainstorm for Thief characters. Most cards in Persona 5 are Thief, but there are a lot of like side character cards that are not Thief trait. So it is notable that you can't search those, which is not an issue in this list, but can be in some other lists. Your other effect is when you use an act ability, up to 1 time per turn, you can give a character 500 power. This just sort of makes our 2k backups a little more impressive. Next we have Ryuji, It's a Deal. On play, you can discard a card to choose a card named Calling Card in your waiting room and return it to your hand. So this is our sort of bond to our main event. There are 4 different cards named Calling Card that all have different effects, 1 in each color. We only play 1 of them in this deck, and I'll talk about one of the others in the options. The red one and blue one are not too great, so I'm not going to be talking about those today. So we have Sadayo Kawakami. This is one of the cards that is not Thief Trait, but we're only playing 1 copy of it. We have ways to grab it besides our Brainstorm, and it's not a crucial card to the game plan, but it can make things nicer for us. If you are level 3 or higher, you can put this card into the waiting room to choose a protagonist as Joker and Arsene in your hand, and put it on the stage position this card was on. That's our level 3, our main level 3, so this effectively lets us summon our level 3 by sacking a card, or discarding 1, instead of paying 2 stock. Which our finisher does have a quite heavy stock cost, so that can make it a little more manageable. We have Anne as Panther, Quiet Rage. It's a global 500 to our thief characters, so it makes our walls slightly bigger. And this is a very neat effect that sort of gives us an advantage engine outside of our combo. When damage dealt by your direct attacking character is not cancelled, choose a face-down card in your opponent's memory and put it into his or her waiting room. If you do, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a thief character in your waiting room and return it to your hand. So if they don't cancel, you have to send the card in memory to their waiting room, but you don't have to pay the cost, which is the 1 stock. So this does let us salvage. Noteworthy that we would get -3 soul against anti-salvage, so you have to sort of be careful about that. But this works really well with our sort of wall strategy, where if we win on defense, then we open up a lot of direct attack slots and have a lot of chances to get this effect off. And so the face-down card in memory comes from the Calling Card, so we'll see that near the end of the deck list. Next we have Morgana as Mona, the Phantom Guide. This is a free runner. We're just playing 4 of these because we need a way to plus that doesn't take up a lot of slots or resources. Sometimes I kind of wish this was a mill runner just to get some cards in waiting room, but unfortunately it's all we have. So we're playing this as our runner. And I do think, so a lot of Japanese lists, if you people have been like looking at what we recommended before for Japan, actual Japanese players played a lot of yellow-red. The Western players in Japanese format tended to prefer a yellow-green-blue sort of build, and we would play oversizes, such as the 00 Yusuke or 00 Futaba. The reason we're not playing those in English is because there are more reverse combos that we need to worry about, notably Aaron. And Morgana gives you a better matchup against them because you're a runner. So you're getting your pluses while not feeding them reverse targets. Going into level 1, we have Protagonist as Joker, Thief Clad in Black. This is a 104k. Lots of text. On play, you can choose, on play from state, when placed on stage from hand or waiting room, I can talk, you may choose a card named Protagonist as Joker lurking in the dark in your waiting room. Put it face down underneath this card as a marker. If there's a marker underneath this card, it gains the following ability, Continuous. If the character facing this card is green or red, this card gets plus 3,000 power. And it has a climax phase change to put itself in a waiting room to play Protagonist as Joker lurking in the dark to your stage. So before I talk about this, we'll go ahead and move to Protagonist as Joker lurking in the dark. Pretty much the same card, but it markers Thief Clad in Black and gains power against yellow or blue characters. So these are our walls. We're playing 4 of each because you need them in waiting room and in hand. But it doesn't matter which one you draw because you can always change into the correct one. So you do have to know your opponent's deck and what colors they're going to be playing. A lot of times you'll have had a moment to see before you hit them to level 1. But it does help in general just knowing the metagame and what decks are playing what colors. So originally a 7k. 7/5 with a global against most things. We have backups. So it is a very respectable wall. Your issue here is when your opponent has 2 colors at level 1, and they can sort of match whichever color you don't have. The biggest example of this is Sword Art, where they play both green and blue level 1s. So if you play Lurking in the Dark, they can kill it with a green card, but if you play Thief, Clad, and Black, they can kill it with a green card, or a red card if they're playing Standby. So you sort of were sort of weird there. Generally, the idea in that matchup is going to be to play Thief, Clad, and Black, so that they can't kill you with Yukis, and it forces them to play blue cards and delay their Yukis, and therefore, like, delay their hand fixing. And, like, plussing combo and stuff. So that's usually what you're going for there, but, just depending on what they have, you might have to sort of try to see how many, cards of what colors they're playing before you go into level 1. Decks like Toluvru that play both yellow and green level 1s, you're going to want to block the green ones there because that's their reverse combo. You don't really care if they kill you with a yellow one, but you definitely don't want them resolving Beacons, so you'd go into Thief, Clad, and Black there as well. Here's our counter. Morgana as Mona, it's a deal. It's just a 2k counter to your character in battle if you have a Thief character, which you always will, hopefully. And with our Brainstorm giving an extra 500, this can be a 2500 backup or a 2k and 500 split. Going into level 2, we have another counter. Protagonist as Joker, Phantom Thief of Hearts. This is one of the box toppers. It's a 3k backup at level 2, and when you use this card's backup, choose one of your characters in battle, and it gains the following ability until end of turn. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put that character into your opponent's memory. So we mainly have this in here against decks. Konosuba and Sword Art are the big 2 that we're going for here. Konosuba with the Burn 5 Megumin and the Eris Restander, neither of which need to reverse, and neither of which are very large, but if you play this counter and memory kick them, then they cannot resolve their effects. Eris can't restand, Megumin can't burn 5 at Encore Step, because she's gone. Sword Art, both switch and link attack. Switch has a very weird scenario where, I think I talked about this in my Sword Art video, when I talked about the Asuna's assist memory effect. Switch needs to not, well, okay, so it needs to either attack with Asuna on the first attack, or not reverse with Kirito. Either way, this counter is probably going to get you over their character, and you can memory kick them, and then they don't have enough characters on board to resolve Switch. Link attack is very similar. If they attack with the Kirito 3-2 and you send it to memory, then it cannot resolve the when another character attacks, if Climax is in play, pay cost, etc. So you can sort of shut down finisher combos with this. So I think it's fairly worth keeping in the deck. Next we have Protagonist, Prisoner of Fate. This is it's an assist. It's a 2/1. During your turn, all of your characters in front of this card get plus X power. X is equal to 1000 multiplied by that character's level. This is a very offensive card. We're not really using it to wall. We're mainly using this on our level 3 turn to make sure we kill all of our opponent's characters. Its other effect is all of your other cards named Protagonist as Joker and Arsene get plus 500 power, and the following ability. During your turn, when this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, look at the top card of your deck, put it on top of your deck or into Waiting Room. So as I said, our finisher does need to top check to deal damage. So this lets us, if we attack with our finisher last, we can guarantee the top check going into Encore Step. Or at least guarantee that it's not something we don't want to see. And it gives 500 power, which is just a little more boost to help us kill things. This is Protagonist as Joker, all-out attack. This is our main advantage combo. If you have 4 or more Thief characters, this gets -1 level in your hand. So you can typically only field one of these at a time, since it will be filling your board up. But it makes up for that by giving you 2 cards off of its combo. When it reverses battle opponent, if a card named The Show's Over is in your climax area, and you have 4 or more other Thief characters, search your deck for level 1 or lower, or draw a card, and then search your deck for level 1 or lower character, reveal it to your opponent, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck. Typically, you'll be searching for like a backup or something. You can use this to search for Kawakami, since nothing else can really search for her. Or you can use it to search for a Ryuji, where you can then discard a card to get your calling card, or something like that. We do only play 2 copies of this card, even though it's our advantage combo, because it doesn't help us in AOT, in the AOT matchup very much, and even in the matchups where it does help, we have enough time to get 1 before we need to play it, and we're never fielding more than 1, because it will make us have a full board. For our level 3s, we have Protagonist as Joker and Arsene, the card that I have referenced many times. It's a 9k, it gains 500 power for each of your other thief characters, so it's 11k on a full board. On play, you can heal, and at the beginning of your encore step, if your opponent does not have any characters in his or her center stage, or if all the characters in your opponent's center stage are reverse, you can pay 3 and discard a thief character. If you do, for each thief character in your front row, you reveal the top card of your deck, put it on the bottom of your deck, and deal X damage to your opponent. X is equal to that card's level, and then you shuffle your deck afterwards. So you do need to win every lane for this to resolve, since you have to reverse everything or their field has to be empty. So that's why we have the level assist. It bumps this up to 14.5 on a full board, 15k with your global. You can play a climax to make it 16. So we're typically reversing things. Against AOT, they have maneuver gear. It can be problematic, but at the same time, if they maneuver gear into the back row, then their front row can still be empty, and we can still resolve our burns. So they have to maneuver gear to another front row slot, which means if we just attack them and force the maneuver gear first, they need a second maneuver gear to dodge our second attack into that character. So AOT does need 2 maneuver gears to dodge this. And you can see where we have the top checks. So that's one of the reasons we're not playing a ton of level 0 characters, is because if you top check a level 0, you deal 0 damage, since X is 0. The goal here is you're typically wanting to deal like a couple instances of 1 and 2, maybe some 3s. It's not really going to kill your opponent from far out, but it can close out a game where you've put them to like mid-level 3. That's about it there. He just gets really big and deals good damage. You just want to be careful on your resources, because it does cost a lot, and you're typically not going to have very much after you resolve a couple of his effects. And your optimal level 3 game is probably fielding at least 2 of these. So you have to be careful as to when you fire off the effect, just so you don't mess yourself up if you don't kill your opponent. So next we have Morgana as Mona and Zorro. If the number of climaxes in your waiting room is 2 or less, this gets minus a level in your hand. Heals on play, and on attack, if you have 2 or more other thief characters, this gains 2,000 power until end of turn. So it's just a pretty standard early play heal. Yeah, it just early plays and heals, and it can kill things. It's 9.5 base, gains 2k on attack, so that makes it 11.5. Global makes it 12. If that's not big enough, we also have the level assist. So this in combination with the Joker level 3 means you're probably clearing your opponent's board most of the time. And I will say the other thing about this card, since it reveals the top and puts it on the bottom of your deck, if you can, when I was talking earlier about the Joker promo, where you can put a card on the bottom of your deck, if you can put like a level 2 or something, level 1, 2, or 3, doesn't matter what it is as long as it's not 0, put it on the bottom of your deck, and then play like calling card and other stuff to sort of mill down to where you only have 4 cards in your deck. You'll attack 3 times, so that 1 card will be the last card in your deck. And then you'll pay 3, discard 1, reveal it, put it on the bottom, and deal that much damage. And then when you reveal, you only have 1 card in deck, so you're still just revealing that same card. And you'll put it on bottom, reveal it again, put it on bottom, shuffle your 1 card deck, and resolve your next Joker. Reveal it, deal the damage. So if it's like a level 2, you'll just deal 2 damage on every single Joker burn. And you can use this to stack up just a ton of guaranteed damage. which is really good. This deck isn't sort of like maximized out to do that, because we're only playing one copy of the promo, and we're not really playing a ton of ways to mill. But it is an option that you have if your deck is rather small and you have access to a couple calling cards. You can pull that off, and it is amazing when you do so. So, calling card. It is a 1-0 event for the yellow one. It has 3 parts to its effect. Most of the calling cards do have 3 parts. If there are no face-down cards in your opponent's memory, your opponent chooses a card from your opponent's hand, puts it face-down into his or her memory, and then draws up to 1 card. Which they're hopefully going to draw that card, because it, you know, they nag if they don't. Well, for you, hopefully they don't draw it, because then you just played an event and made them -1, which is great. But they'll probably draw it. So really, it's just a break-even on them, but it fulfills your requirement of having a face-down card in memory for your and global. Then you look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 thief from among them, reveal it to your opponent, put it in hand, put the rest in waiting room, and then you may choose one of your opponent's cost 0 or less in the front row and return it to his or her hand. So you can do this to just sort of get rid of things like Taige's that you know they're just going to play a counter and be bigger than you and whatnot. Things that don't have on-play effects. You can just bounce them back and not have to worry about them. It also opens up direct attack slots, which both gives you extra soul, since you might not be playing a climax at level 1, due to not really having a combo, and opens up those direct slots for your ANDS effect. For climaxes, we have a wind for the 2-1 Joker, and we just have a door. We're not playing any combo with this, we're just playing doors, because they give us cards when we trigger them, and there aren't really any other combos worth running. You can run the combo for this climax if you want. I believe I'll talk about that in the options section here coming up. So our other options, starting with yellow, we have Akechi, the new detective prince. Nice. 002000. It is a detective. Unfortunately not a thief, so that's sort of the reason it's not in here for sure. When your other character is frontal attacked, you may pay the cost. If you do, return that character to your hand. So it's pay 1, put this card in your waiting room. You can use this to dodge on reverse effects, which can be relevant. Not sure how important having this card to do that will be, but it is something to keep in mind. Also something to keep in mind is that this exact same profile, exact same power, exact same trait even, exists in the Persona 4 version E set on a Naoto 00 that is blue. So if blue is better for your deck, play that one. If yellow is better, play this one. Next we have Swimsuit Protagonist. 002500. It is just a drop searcher for thief. Not super important in this build. Some builds it is though. This can help you get your changers. It can help you guarantee that more of them have come out of your deck by the time you need them. So that can be neat. In general, not playing this just because we don't need that utility. We already have calling card to mill and hand fix. Ryuji Sakamoto. If you don't want to play the Changers level 1 game, you can play this guy. Instead, he takes up fewer slots, so it gives you more room elsewhere. He just gets 500 power for each of your other thief or sports characters, so he'll be 6-5 on a full board, 7k with 1 global, which is actually the same power as your Changers. It's just that you need the full board. So, yeah. A lot of times that might not be the easiest thing in the world. Well, okay, so he's 7k with the global, they're 7k without, so he's 500 smaller. So he is slightly worse as a wall, but oh well. Next we have Protagonist P5. This is a trial deck card. Unfortunately, only a 1 of in the trial deck. Thief and Glasses. When this card attacks, choose one of your other thief characters, and that character gets plus X power till end of turn. X is 500 multiplied by the number of other thief characters you have. So this is just Shimakaze Kai from Kenkola. There's a good card there because it pumps your on-reverse combo. It is a good card here because it pumps your on-reverse combo. Unfortunately, our on-reverse combo is not as important in this deck, so I'm not playing this card. If you decide not to play the Changers and play the 1-0 Ryuji instead, you have enough room and should play this for sure. Because it can also pump your level 3s to be big enough to make sure you clear a board at level 3. So we have Ryuji as Skull and Captain Kid. This has a climax combo that we are not going to be playing pretty much ever, no matter what. It combos with a shot, if you're curious. When it reverses battle opponent, you can choose one of your other characters and one of your opponent's characters, return them to hand. Pretty much the only time this is relevant is bouncing like a Konosuba or Tolovru encore assist, so that your opponent can't encore their stuff when you kill it. Or I guess like Fate encore assist. But yeah, otherwise not super important. We have his main ability that we'd be playing him for is when this attacks, if the character facing this card is level 3 or higher, this card gets plus 6,000 power until end of turn. So it makes him a 13k, with a level assist behind him. He's 15.5 with a global. You probably only have room for this if you're playing the Ryuji or like the Ryuji level 1 game, so you can also pump him with the Protagonist 1-0. That makes him like, oh boy, like 17.5, so he can kill pretty much any level 3 out there. He's also good with your Protagonist level 3s, because he can help you clear board. Next we have Ryuji as Skull, all-out attack. This is a level 3 Ryuji. You would probably play this in the build completely dedicated to using the promo to guarantee that you burn like 2 or 3 a whole ton of times. On play, you can look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, put one in your hand, put the rest in waiting room. So that gives you the extra mill power that you might need to dig through your deck to get to that bottom card. You also have a climax combo that works fairly well with Joker. When a card named Freakin' Boring is placed on your climax area, which is a stock soul, if this card is in your front row, you can discard a card, choose one of your opponent's characters, return it to his or her hand, choose one of your thief or sports characters, and give it 1,000 power and a shot. This is really good because it can bounce stuff, and you don't have to worry about like reversing, because you just bounce it to hand and it's an empty slot anyway. Issue here is that a lot of things that you want to be bouncing are hexproof, and you can't bounce them. Notably Darkness level 3, and anything in Attack on Titan. So that can be problems a little bit. But the, excuse me. The shot, giving you a little bit of extra damage push, is pretty nice. If you give it to a Joker level 3, then it will also apply to all of the burns off of his effect at Encore Step. Meaning if they cancel any of those burns or his attack, they'll take 1 extra damage, which is pretty good. Lastly for yellow, we have Junas. This is a card from Persona 4 version E. Search your deck for up to 1 character with Junas or Protagonist in its card name. So this is sort of guarantee you 2/1 Protagonist, or Protagonist memory counter, or Protagonist level 3, or any of that stuff. Going into green, we have Makoto as Queen, the Phantom Tactician. On play, you can give a Thief or Student Council or Prosecutor character a level and 1,000 power. And on play, you can discard 1 to choose a Thief or Student Council or Prosecutor in your clock. Return it to hand, put the top card of your deck into your clock. So this is just a nice discard out and hand filter. It's not something we're in dire need of when we have the Ryuji 1-0. So that's why we're not playing this. The level in 1,000 is neat, but not super necessary most of the time. Though it is worth noting that if you pump a level and 1,000 into something that is in front of a Joker level assist, you've effectively pumped 2,000 power into it, because it's now an extra level as well. Haru, a life on rails. Probably don't play this card, but I figured I'd mention it. When damage dealt by this card is cancelled, you may put this card into your stock. So since you are opening up a lot more direct slots anyway, This is direct attacking more often and giving you more chances to send it to stock off of higher damage counts. It also effectively means that if they cancel, you get stock. If they don't cancel, you pay 1 to salvage, which is pretty neat. We have another box topper here, Makoto Phantom Thief of Hearts. 003500, when a climax is placed on your opponent's climax area, put this card into your waiting room. So, I said earlier the reason we're not playing oversizes at 0 is because they give reverse targets. But, this is an oversize that just sort of kills itself when they play a climax. And if it kills itself, they can't reverse it. So this is an option if you want to play oversizes. We're not playing green though, so I think Morgana is still better in this list, but if you do want to edge sort of splashing some green stuff, this can be one of the cards you splash in for fixing. And this would be your main payoff for playing green. It is a level assist for 500 times level, and when the damage dealt by your direct attacking character is not cancelled, if the number of other thief or student council or prosecutor characters you have is 3 or more, you can pay 1 and put a thief or student council or prosecutor from your hand into your waiting room to put a face down card from your opponent's memory into your opponent's clock. So it gives you some extra damage, and it is effectively a clock kick that is not reliant on reversing, which is pretty neat. So this is a card that you can just splash in, not worry about the meta too much, and as long as you're getting direct attacks somewhere, you can get this extra damage here and there. Yeah, so it's a good card. You just have to splash into green, so you'd have to play some of these other green cards I've shown. There's also the green calling card. It has the same first clause where your opponent memories a card face down and then draws one. And then you choose one of your characters, and that character gets the following ability. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put that character into your opponent's clock. So now we just have clock kick on anything we want, but it does require a reverse. So I don't think this card is as good as the Makoto level assist, just combined with one of the other calling cards. And the last effect here is just put this card into your memory. So this one cannot be bonded back because it sits in your memory. They did that because I would imagine they don't want you just looping clock kicks on a bunch of stuff. Also in green, there is a level 3 clock kick. During the turn it's placed on stage from hand. You can, when it reverses battle opponent, you can discard 1 to clock kick. But that's a level 3 slot and also needs to reverse, which is just, you know, not the best. So I left that out. As far as red cards go, we have Anne. It's a deal. On play, you can ditch a climax to salvage a thief. Pretty simple. Gives you a climax ditch out, but, I mean, as I've said, the Ryuji does a pretty good job of that on its own. Level 2, we have Anne Takamaki. It is a level assist for 500 times level. And on play, you can discard any card to salvage a thief, which can help you set up for Joker level 3 plays. Unfortunately not as good of a level assist as the Joker level assist, but it is something that can help us guarantee that we get our Jokers. Also can get us counters and stuff like that. This is the level 3 that combos with the door we play. On play, draw 1, it gains 2k, and when it reverses battle opponent, if a card named OMG, We Are So Awesome, is in your climax area, choose up to 1 thief character in your waiting room, put it into your stock, and deal 1 damage to your opponent. Unfortunately, on reverse, deal 1 damage is not the best combo in the world, and you don't have a whole ton of use for the stock in this list. Other than the fact that it can, I suppose if you play like 2 Jokers and 1 of this, you can use that 1 stock to build towards paying for your Joker burns. Another P4 event here. Musha Training. It's from the P4 trial deck. It's a 2/2 salvage 2. You need a lot of stock to actually make use of this, but you can use this to grab stuff like Kawakami plus Protagonist level 3. And effectively for 2 stock, just summon a Protagonist level 3 from your waiting room, which is pretty cool. Or if you actually just have a ton of stock, you can grab 2 Protagonists or whatever. Or if you have the Protagonist, you can grab like Kawakami, and something else. Doesn't really matter, but you can use this to just sort of toolbox stuff if you have these stock. Going into blue, this is one of the oversizes that we played in the Japanese lists. If there's a marker under it, it gains 15 and a level, making it a level 1 3500. And on play, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is Thief or Coffee, you can put it underneath this as a marker. So it's pretty much always a level 135, meaning you beat most things and can't be bombed. Unfortunately, this means you're probably still around when your opponent hits level 1, and they can just reverse you fairly easily, since like every level 1 combo in the game can beat 35. Another oversized, this is the one that we played more so than the Futaba. It's a 15 that gains a level and 25 in the front middle, so it's actually a 4K level 1, so it's even bigger. Unfortunately, against AOT, their Aaron Brainstorm pumps their middle by 1,000, and this card has to be in the middle to gain power, so you like always lose to their characters. Sword Art as well has the Brainstorm that pumps a level and 1,000 to Asuna's and Sleeping Knights. No, Asuna's and Yuki's in the middle. So again, if they have an Asuna or a Yuki, they're going to be killing you in the middle slot. So not the greatest card. And even if they can't kill you, 4K or 45 is not quite enough to beat out level 1 combos. Though I guess it is notable that you're like 7K if you have a counter with a Brainstorm on board. But most Climax combos are still at least that big at level 1. We have Futaba as Oracle, the Phantom Hacker. This is a 2500 backup at level 2, and when you back up, you can pay 2 to free fresh. So this is pretty good. I think we have enough mill that this doesn't completely matter in this list. We can sort of mill into refresh whenever we want. But this does give us the refresh without taking a refresh penalty, just at a cost of a lot more stock. I also am not sure that this deck actually has the stock to consistently resolve this. But it is something worth noting. Definitely a good card. We have Yusuke Kitagawa. This is a 2/155 on play. If you have another Thief character, which I hope you do, draw 1, discard 1, and then put the top card of your deck into your stock. So this is effectively a 2/0 that gives you a hand filter, which is sweet, even apart from his other effect. His other effect, though, is pretty cool. Beginning of Climax phase, change, pay 1, put 2 Thief characters from your hand into your waiting room, and return this card to your hand. Choose a Yusuke as Fox and Goemon in your waiting room, play it to this card's stage position. That card is this level 3. So effectively, if you do this whole change effect, counting the fact that you get to blind stock on his first effect, you are paying 1 stock and discarding 1 card to turn into a 3/2. Instead of paying 2 stock, you just pay 1, ditch 1. And you get it a level early, which is great. So this card's effects, on attack, you can pay 1, put a Thief from your hand into your waiting room, which the Yusuke 2/1 sort of sets himself up for this, because you can just discard him after he bounces back to hand. Or you can play him next turn and change into a second copy of Fox. But if you do pay the cost, you can put the top card of your clock into your waiting room and get a heal, which is pretty cool. Beginning of your opponent's draw phase, if this is in front row, you can choose a character to give it 4K, so he can make himself big, or he can make something else big. You just do that depending on what your opponent has. If they have, like, an early play to contest you, you can make himself big. If they don't, you can give it to, like, one of your 2/1s or 1/0s, so you have, like, 2 11K rows that they can't kill either of. So yeah, overall, nice card. The reason we're not playing this in English is because a lot of decks are already prepared for Darkness level 3, and this is really just a Darkness level 3 that isn't hexproof. So yeah, If they can deal with darkness, they can deal with Fox, and most decks should be able to deal with darkness right now. Also, not being hexproof means you can get bounced by wind triggers, which are in AOT and To Love Ru, and potentially Sword Art, and Excel World, and Persona 5. So, not the best scenario to be in. We have Futaba as Oracle Navigation Duty. This was a huge card in the Japanese lists. So it's a 1500 global to Thief and Coffee. During your opponent's turn, when the damage you received is not cancelled, look at the top card of your deck, put it on top of your deck or into your waiting room. So as you take damage, you can help guarantee that you won't take more, which is really nice. It's especially good against things like Mikasa level 3 that deals instances of 1. So they'll deal 1, you get to scry, so you can cancel their big hit, and then they'll deal 1, you get to scry, they'll deal 1, you get to scry. You can just sort of dig down to your climaxes and sort of lessen the impact of their onslaught. Same thing against Yami level 3, and anything else that's dealing small instances like that. Even opposing Jokers and like Kuryuki Hime and stuff. Last fact is pay 1, or when another one of your characters is being attacked, if the number of other Thief or Coffee characters you have is 3 or more, you can pay 1 and put a card named I'll Never Forgive Them, which is a Pants Climax, or Gate, or whatever you want to call it, from your hand into your waiting room. Choose one of your opponent's characters in battle, and it gains the following ability until end of turn. This card cannot deal damage to a player. So, this is nice. It's basically anti-damage for 1 stock. You just have to have the Climax in hand. Climax is easy to get because it's a Pants, and we don't really play a second combo anyway, so you're not losing out on a whole lot by playing it. Thing is, you have to splash blue, which isn't incredibly difficult. But there's 2 things to note about the effect. 1, the character you're choosing has to be in battle. If they direct attack or side attack, you cannot null them. So it's really the same restrictions as a counter. But also, similar to a counter, you can't hit hexproof characters. So you cannot null damage on attack on Titan. You cannot null damage on Sword Art playing the 2-1 assist. You cannot null Darknesses. You cannot null Yamis. I think that's about it for big hexproof stuff. Yeah, but I mean those are all good decks, so like kind of question mark there. Sword Art, even not playing the assist, they still get their Yami burn off, or not Yami, I'm sorry, Xenon burn off before you get to play this effect, or they are playing like Link or Switch, where they're getting just like 5 attacks anyway, and you nulling 1 isn't a huge issue. Obviously you're nulling something, so it's better than nothing, but still not as impactful as it could be. Last card we have is Maggie's Terror Reading. This sort of suffers from the same like counter step issue and hexproof issue that Futaba does, but this card is still pretty good. It's a 2/3, so you can play it even when your opponent tries to finish you from level 2. Your opponent may choose one of your characters and return that character to your hand, and then you choose one of your opponent's characters and rest it. So it's a tap counter. This is nice because it can stop on attack effects, but because of the timing, it's a little harder to play around, or a little easier to play around. Since obviously you can't play this on their last character, so decks like AOT, where Futaba might be able to hit the lane that's not protected by Armin, this can't. This does lose out against like Machine of Ice in Sword Art, stuff like that. You can't tap Yamis, obviously, you can't tap Darknesses. But it is still a form of anti-damage. A little costlier, but doesn't take up a climax slot, and still requires you to splash for blue. And maybe they just like bounce a healer or something and you get an extra heal next turn, who knows. But that is it for options here. It's a lot of cards, it's like 40 something cards. Deck has a lot you can do with it. There are also other builds of the deck. This This is just the yellow-red build, and some stuff in other colors you might think about splashing in here. I might do a profile on the yellow, green, blue that I'm currently playing, if people want to see that. This is just sort of the more popular build and what people have been looking for more opinions on. So yeah, thank you for watching. I will hopefully be getting more content out soon. It's sort of dry with no tournament season going on right now, and we're not getting another set release until May, which is like 3 months away. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not dead though. I'm still around. If anyone wants me to make any videos, let me know, and I can work on that. So yeah, thank you guys. Like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.